Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Black Christmas from 1974, the OG, the original, is a movie that I was hesitant to watch. I've heard great things about it, obviously. Watched it on Criterion Channel. But I'd seen the remake. The most recent remake came out like 2018, 2019, something like that. And I did not like it at all. So going into this one, I was hesitant. I was nervous. And I was completely wrong. This movie is amazing. It is so clearly amazing. First off, directed by Bob Clark, who also directed A Christmas Story, as well as Porky's 1 and 2, which is kind of a crazy resume to do. Porky's is very much a teen, grimy teen comedy, raunchy teen comedy. Then you have Black Christmas, which is a horror film that has levels of comedy, has levels of mystery, has great kind of tension, great there's a scene where they're tracing a call that is so much is the best call tracing scene ever, which I'll talk about that later. And then he did A Christmas Story, which is one of the most beloved Christmas movies that gets played on loops during this time of year. It's kind of the range of movies, but they all have that same kind of heart. The heart that you have in A Christmas Story is present in this movie. And actors in this movie are going, they are going all out. They are doing a performance. They are there to add something to this movie. And it's great. The layers of comedy that are through this. You have the house mom, Miss Mac, who hides alcohol throughout this sorority house. So it's basically a sorority house during the holidays. One of the sorority girls goes missing. She gets killed, but the body isn't found, so she's just missing. And these kids trying to get the police to investigate and search and find her. And then other people go missing, and then they start, doing it. So there's not a lot of kills. I thought this was going to be a slasher type of a movie. But it's not that. It's a thing where you don't know who the killer is, right? You don't know until the end. But there's also part of this movie sets up somebody else to be the person responsible, right? There's a character, this piano player, who has this crazy, there's a scene where he's playing the piano for these teachers or whatever. And it's actually kind of good. It's comical, his face while he's playing the piano, but the actual piano playing, it sounds messy, but then it cleans up. It's almost a journey of a song that he's playing, which is kind of amazing that it's just out of nowhere. There's this recital of this guy. But this guy's also anti-abortion because one of the sorority girls is pregnant, and he wants to keep the baby. She doesn't want to keep the baby. And he's he's got this weird setup thing where he's devoted his life to playing piano. But he's set up to be the person that they think kidnapped this girl. Because there's also the moaner. We're living in a time back in the day where you could call any number and you would be completely anonymous. There's no caller ID, there's no call waiting, there's no none of that. Just you pick up a phone, you have this device that rings, that's connected to your wall with a cord. The handset's connected to a cord to the main receiver part, and you pick up the phone and you don't know who's calling, and you have to say hello. And then you find out who it is. It's oh, it's Josh. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. But there's this guy they refer to him as the moaner, who does like the most elaborate kind of, he calls and he moans and he does these like weird voices, makes these weird sounds. It is like probably the most interesting sounding like prank caller type of sexual assault that you could listen to, which is weird. It's weird. And also it's weird how like the girl who's pregnant, like there's multiple scenes of her answering the phone and the moaners on it, and she just listens to it. And he goes, like the moaner is like no like lack of steam when it comes to his shtick on the phone, which is almost comical as well. Margot Kidder is in this movie. She's great. She adds a level of comedy. There's like a scene where she's getting this kid drunk at a Christmas party, like just, pouring beer down his throat. And then there's another scene where they're at the police station trying to, file a missing person report, trying to get them to investigate. And she brings a beer to the police station. And then she also has, like, when the police officer's like, okay, give us your number or whatever, there's this fellatio joke, which I don't, is a little outdated. I don't get how the context of it working in the situation where she tells the police officer this fellatio type of joke reference in the phone number. But it's a joke that comes back way later in the movie that hits, which is kind of fun, that there's these comedic elements with the house mom, Margot Kidder's character. Which just gives a level of like heart, believability to all of these characters, makes you just invest in them because they're like, at least they're interesting, and instead of most horror movies where most characters are pretty one note, not very, like a lot of them are very much like the pregnant woman in this movie. Not a whole lot of range. But yeah, the actors are going for it. Takes a while before there's a second murder, right? Like the one girl is still in the house. She's in the attic. But they don't know. They don't go into the attic. It's it's a sorority house. They're not investigating storage spaces. So they wouldn't, why would you think your missing person is in the attic for any reason? But she's in the attic still. But they don't know. But while the house mom, Miss Mack, was trying to find another one of her bottles that's just hidden in these fun places all around the house for her to get a drink in, she goes up in the attic and she finds the person, which we don't know. Every time the person's all first person, so we never see him. But she's the second one to get killed, because she went up into the attic where he's at. This movie has, like I said, the best. So the cops, the investigator, the lead investigator guy, like is playing this role like he is a straight up just detective in a noir film, and he is like the most serious about it. He's like treating it seriously, investigating this thing, and they're trying to. The moaner, they think the moaner is the one that's doing it, because the moaner is starting to say things that are kind of relevant. Like he knows things about them, which is, one of the reasons why they suspect this piano player guy, because he would be the only one that would really know anything. But there's this amazing scene where, because they have to keep the moaner on the phone for a long time, of like this room in the phone company that it would be a server room today, right? You see it in every movie, just racks upon racks of servers. But in this thing, it's phone connectors. And it's like this analog thing where you're seeing the wires actually connect. And it's like he has to run to go see where this connection is going. And you can actually hear it to know which one. It's like the active line that's still going on. And then he can tap in to double check to make sure. He can see where that line is to see who's calling who. Right? Awesome. Because it fails a few times. But it's like this awesome scene, like the best tracking scene ever. Because it's not like seeing just numbers scroll on a computer screen or whatever on a device that tracks a number. Like this one is like the most interesting way to portray tracking of a number. And it's also the best version of their calling from inside the house. Because he gets the thing, he calls the cops. He's like, listen, this is the address. And they're like, wait, how is that the address? So they're like, oh, they know. Now the cops know. Now it's up to the goofy cop that got the joke played on him earlier. He's trying to call and tell the Prego girl to get out of the house. And, of course, she doesn't listen because she thinks she's told that the killer, the person responsible is inside the house. She thinks that person is her boyfriend. She thinks that person is the piano player. Everybody kind of thinks it's the piano player. Obviously, it's not the piano player. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. But that's why she stays. She's told to get out, but she's like, no, but it's him. Like, maybe I can talk to him or whatever. But at that moment, her boyfriend does break in, does show up, and she kills him because she thinks he's the one that's doing this stuff. I think she found the body or something. So it's like the person actually responsible, the actual killer, is still in the attic. I mean, obviously, spoilers. Too late for that. You should just assume. But it's like the end of this movie, like when you find out that like they think everybody in this movie, the reality of this movie, other people died. Margot Kidder's character died. Like other people have died. But when you find out the end where you realize that all these people think that they got the right guy. They thought it was the piano player. She killed him. So now they think that the person responsible for all these deaths has been caught is dead. But the reality is it's the real person is still in the attic. And there's these great long shots, 2 long shots of like going from her she's like out of it right after she kills this boyfriend or whatever. And the cops are there and they're like, oh, we got to call. We got to get out of here. So she's in bed. It's like this long shot of just her in bed. And then she eventually gets up and then she goes to go, I forget where she's going, but it's just like this long shot, and then it's cuts to from inside the attic, and then it pulls outside of the attic. How it's just like everybody's wrapped up, the case is wrapped up, but the threat is still right there. It's just, I was so blown away. The performances were amazing. The different scenes, like the comedy that was like sprinkled in, I was like, is this just a comedy? But it's not overtly comedic. It's not like trying to. It's definitely not like a comedy horror film. It is like a well-written horror film that's got a great pace to it, great performances, but also sprinkles in comedy. And it's not like the movie is comedy. These characters are funny. Like the alcoholic house mom, Margot Kidder, kind of just not really caring about anything. You have this moaner, this super elaborate moaner that goes on the phone, and they just listen to it. Pretty funny. But it's like every aspect of it was like it just hits perfectly. And it hits in a way that's different than most movies hit. And does a lot of, I'm sure a lot of movie tropes come from this movie. Like the killer's calling from in the house. And I mean, tracking a phone number is never been as exciting as this movie portrays it. You have cops that like are clearly, there's a scene where a guy, like they're in the cop station later on in the movie, has really nothing to do with the plot of this movie, but like we're in the police station and cops brought in this guy who shot a police officer in the ass, right? This guy shot a cop in the ass. They bringing him in because he got arrested for it. He's an old white guy. And the old white guy is complaining like a Karen to these cops that they're bullshit for even arresting him. It's like, you shot a cop in the ass and you're acting like it's really funny, but also kind of sad because for some people it's like, oh, the police are completely, the police aren't dominant over some people. Like they only terrorize people that they think they can terrorize. And like some people can get away with just being like above a police officer. I don't know. It was a kind of an interesting scene. Is there anything else that I missed? I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah. A great movie. Kind of makes me want to watch the remakes of it to see what other people did. But it's like, it's clearly a masterpiece. Like, it's obviously why it's on Criterion. It is just one of those movies that does everything so well. It's just so refreshing. I was so nervous. Like, oh man, because sometimes I watch a movie and I don't get it, or it's not hitting me like it hits other people. And this one, I'm glad it hit me the way it hits other people because it's so good. So if you haven't checked it out, I don't care if you've seen other Black Christmases. I can't imagine any of them are even close to as good as this movie is. It's so good. And it's, if you're looking for a horror movie that's also a Christmas movie, it's a nice little blend. It's not super gory. It's more psychological, kind of like scary in a way, but like I said, dashed with comedy. Such a great balance to the moods of everything going on. But check it out. Black Christmas from 1974. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!